Welcome to the conclusion of a Strange New Pod's Next Generation Film Deep Dive series. Don't worry, there are no nude Beta Z weddings happening on this show.
Aww.
I know. Sorry, guys. I am your captain and host this week, Julian, alongside my trusty bridge crew. I almost said beer crew. My trusty bridge crew, the Borg Queen of Puns, Ensign Brittany, failed Jean-Luc Picard clone, Lieutenant Hawk, and the Admiral of Admirals, the Collective Slayer, 10-time Gorn Wrestling Champion in 3 different systems, and the Liberator of Remus, Ensign Erin. Admiral Eric is off tonight with a mild case of Andorian shingles, and we're wishing him a very speedy recovery. Glory to you and your houses.
And to you.
I'm going to say I take offense that you said Hawk is a failed clone.
I didn't write that.
This man?
Hawk wrote that himself.
Okay.
Can you do like a Shinzo face for us? Like a real
like Tom Hardy's pooping face?
Oh, yeah. There you go.
There it is.
I love it. I live for it.
Oh, man. All right, guys. As always, if you're out there on Twitch and YouTube and have an opinion or a question or just want to chat, keep the questions and comment. I can't speak today because I'm doing everything. Keep the comments and questions coming all night long. And like I said earlier, I'm doing all sides of the technical stuff. So we'll see how it goes. It's going to be fun. Sam Dillard, Samo Studios, thank you for bringing us to the Final Frontier week in and week out with our awesome intro and outro music. And we have a lot of news this week, and we're going to get right to it. So directly following this stream, we're launching the Best of Trek Thursdays on our Discord channel. So these will be watch alongs. So head up by one of our Patreon Collective members, Mag. This was her idea. She's not going to necessarily head them up. It's going to be all random suggestions for episodes that are like really good Trek episodes. And that's going to be starting tonight directly following this stream. So head on over there. Unfortunately, I would be able to normally put the link up if it had taken me to the right place, but it didn't. So we'll get that to you after. But we got that going. So yeah. And then next week on episode 19 of the show, we are going to be crossing over with Marcy Starfleet and the Discotech podcast, which is going to be a blast. And we're going to review Discovery's 3rd season as a whole. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to that. Who is that, Brittany?
This is Elsie from Westworld.
Okay.
I just wanted to change my background from Noah because I feel like if Noah checks out the pod, I'll be like, why am I still her background?
Because this is Noah of a good time.
I didn't have time to find a Nemesis one, so I was like, sci-fi. There's Elsie. It's funny because it says...
I'm surprised your default wasn't Doug Jones.
I know.
I have so much Trek, but it says area woman not listened to again because that's literally what happens to her character.
This has lately been her new obsession, so
I finished Westworld. It was a good one.
If any of us, I hope that doesn't get in the recording. I'm gonna quickly do something here. Yeah, it is. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're gonna fix that right there. Does anybody have Restream up so they can chat with people and send the Discord link? Restream.io. If you don't, that's okay. We'll get it. More news. If you are a member of our Patreon collective, our Mirror Universe logo gear is available now. If you see my fancy badgy pin and my fancy Strange New Pod mirror pin, those are in the mail for a lot of you already. But if you haven't gotten a chance to order them, you could PayPal us. All the information is in the Patreon chat on our Discord. Our PayPal is estrangenewpod@gmail.com. Super simple, super easy. We have magnets, we have stickers, and we have pins, and we're shipping them as a package. Those will be exclusive to you until February 19th, and then they're going out to the public. So get them while we have them. And we're going to be giving away one of those packages tonight in just a little bit. So stay tuned for that. Then finally, international listeners and Trekkies rejoice. Lower Decks is now streaming on Amazon Prime in the UK and many other European countries. So congratulations. It's time for some buffer time. So,
go back and listen to all of our podcasts about Lower Decks.
Brittany, speaking of Lower Decks, it looks like you were ascending there for a second. Your light
I don't know what my light just did.
Did you see the koala?
I did for half a second. Because, it's quality lighting that just happened.
Shut up, Wesley.
Hey, Wesley was in this movie for a hot second.
He was supposed to be in it more, but we'll get to that. But before we do, we have to plug our Patreon collective. And Aaron, how can people go about supporting our pod and joining that collective?
if you wanted to support us, you could join our Patreon, where you're going to get awesome benefits. I was going to say discounts, which is not the right word. You can get awesome benefits, such as Julian teaching you how to make cool GIFs, which we've seen, or memes. GIFs, memes, one of those things.
GIFs.
And
GIFs.
which has been really fun, and we've seen a lot of our collective put out a bunch of GIFs, which have been hilarious. And you'll also get Drunk Space 9, which is with me and Julian, where I'll teach you how to make a cool drink, and then we will watch a bad or silly episode of Deep Space Nine, something Star Trek, and we will get on our watch along, talk about it, have a good time, and then you'll have a podcast about it where you, the collective, can join in with us. And lots of other cool things like pins. The pin Julian's wearing, it was our Patreon gift for this year, or I guess technically last year now.
Last year, yep.
So we've always got lots of cool things going on. We've got a special Patreon channel in our Discord for patrons only, and we're always adding more benefits. So join in. We have benefit levels at $1, $2, and $5, I believe. So it's really cheap. It helps to fund this podcast, pay for all the little stuff. We're not making big money here. We're just trying to pay the bills. So
and make really cool merch for you guys.
Fund the
merch. Yeah, we're talking about a lot of cool merch right now. So join.
We are going to be launching our Teespring store soon. Eric has some really cool merch coming, but that's a little bit of a surprise, so we will say no more. But Aaron, I believe the next Drunk Space 9 is next Friday.
I believe so. So the video for making the drink will be coming out soon. I might also, because of shipping to our Canadian patrons, be making an alternate drink in case the special ingredient doesn't make it to them in time. So either way, we're going to have a cool drink to make. And if not, we'll already have next month's done. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And we are watching Masks, I believe. Masks?
Yes, unfortunately. Unfortunately.
Don't worry, we'll be drunk.
We will. It'll be fun. And then just real quick on Twitch here, JD Haven 452 said, "Haha, I finally get these references," because he's getting to finally watch Lower Decks as well.
Yay.
So,
Lower Decks, Lower Decks, Lower Decks.
Hey, Brittany, would you like to give some shout outs to our amazingly awesome patron collective?
Yes, I didn't get to confirm the pronunciation of one name, so I hope I'm right. If not, she can yell at me later.
There you go.
We have new people. So are awesome. You guys know our collective is amazing. A lot of you are on our Discord. Even if you can't make it on there, chat us up on social media. It's a blast no matter what we're doing. And hopefully you're in the chat right now. And of course, Aaron's name on Discord is Blast. So every time I say that, we're like, Blast!
That's right.
So thank you so much again to Simon Stager, Jeff Reeve, Mariah Gossett, Magbug, and Bradley. I always yell it like that. And Bradley, Spotted Giraffe, Brandon Feltzer, Mitch Thatcher, Rob, Jen Stein, Rob, Tina Alexander, Joe Saporito, Noe Santos, Kang Hui, JD, Takako Nagumo, I hope it's not Takeko. I don't know. Either way, please correct me later. And Kara Kennedy.
Woo woo!
Thank you,
Patron Collective. We love you. Okay, so without further ado, it is time for that very special time where I freak all of your ears out. It is the Strange New Loop. And we're doing
good.
Things. Yeah, felt good, right?
This is Biden's America.
That's right.
We could do whatever we want.
And Canada, down in the corner with Hawk.
Yeah. We're doing things a little bit differently for the Strange New Loop this week because in honor of 1701 Day last weekend, we asked on Twitter and Instagram which version of the Enterprise was your favorite. And we got an awesome amount of submissions, just an overwhelming response. It was awesome. So we're going to read a lot of them. We didn't get to put all of them, but we got most of them because there were a lot.
Because we received 1,701.
That would have been.
It was pretty much though. We received a lot.
Takako would like to know that you said it right, Brittany. So good job.
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect.
And JD Haven also says, so happy that we have so many patrons. Me too. Our goal is to get to 25 before the end of the first quarter of 2021, and we're at 18. So we could do it. We could do it.
More.
Before we go into a lot of these submissions, I will say real quick that the refit Constitution class was the clear favorite among most of the answers we got. So the good old Connie 1701 refit, gotta love it. But we're gonna go down these, and who did I have first?
Gold, I believe, is marked for me.
You are gold.
Yeah. So Alexander wrote on Twitter the E. because she's beautiful and so is her captain.
Ain't that the truth?
I was gonna
Just
say,
like
stay
Hawk.
golden, pony boy.
Patrick from the It's Got Star Trek podcast wrote, for me, it's the Star Trek II Enterprise, followed closely by the Enterprise A, as depicted in Star Trek VI.
Jim wrote, probably the Constitution refit scene in the TOS movies. Updated classic.
And Tim wrote, the D holds a special place in my heart. I always get the ones with the D, and it cracks me up.
You do.
I'm like a sixth grader. I don't know.
Oh,
Whoever would think that's
seems
funny.
more appropriate.
Sixth grader. Yeah, no, I just want to say 6, and I was like, where am I going with this? 69 dudes. The D holds a special place in my heart, but I've loved the E from the moment I saw it. It's just so pleasing to look at. I'm also a fan of the disco era 1701. It perfectly honors the TOS design, updates it for the modern times, and it's not a gaudy space hot rod. I'm glad they threw hot rod in there, because if they would have said a gaudy space rod, I just would have been gone.
I actually don't know what that's referring to. Is that referring to Discovery? Is that referring to a different ship? Like, I don't know, the gaudy space hot rod?
Maybe
I don't
they
know.
mean
Tim,
in
let us know.
They probably mean the JJ verse, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, yeah. You know what? You're probably right. Aaron, I think you're next.
Oh, I am the green.
I think I'm
it's Hawk.
gold.
That's
You're
Hawk.
good.
I'm gold. So Jay wrote, my favorite 1701 would be the 1701 JJ Kelvin timeline.
It is a nice. A lot of people don't like that ship. A lot of people do. I know Rob in our Patreon collective does not like the JJ prize. So
I love every ship that's ever existed. So
of course you do.
It's hard.
Dave wrote, my fave NCC 1701 is probably the refitted USS Enterprise from Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
All right. Jim G wrote, they're all beautiful, but for me, it's the 1701E.
And DeRaven wrote, Constitution class refit. It's sleek, but still feels like an actual naval vessel.
Jim Ross, no, not that Jim Ross, wrote, all good things future version of the Enterprise D. That's a really good pick.
It's a
actually.
great pick.
Yeah, equipped with the third warp nacelle and forward phaser cannon, just looks sleek. Surprised this did not get more votes.
I put that in there because I'm really surprised it didn't get more votes. Like when people think of TNG, like they talk about all good things. And I remember like as a kid, just like, oh my God, the Enterprise has a third nacelle. Oh my God, look at those fucking phasers blowing through the Klingon battle cruise. I'm like, this is amazing. I think that was like the only submission for the all good things Enterprise D. So
I'm going to give myself one more year before I get really into the Star Trek ships. I'm going to just put it out there now. Like, since I'm watching a lot of Trek, like, I only watched Deep Space Nine. They were on a fucking space station the whole time, except for like, one other ship. Like, I was just like, yeah, whatever. And now I'm watching all these other shows, and I'm like, oh man, all these ships are cool. So a year from now, I'll be like, well, the Enterprise E actually had multiple nacelles and a forward phaser. So just mark that down as the best ship that's ever happened in Star Trek.
I look
Thank
forward
you.
to that.
I quote stuff that I hear Julian say all the time, like to sound really smart in front of people about Star Trek, and I walk away, and then I'm just like, oh God, what did I just say?
Who am I?
When it comes to ships, because everything else, I'm just like, I know what a nacelle is. I know apparently they're detached now.
JD wants to know if they could change their vote, even though their answer was already said live. I mean, you could do it in Twitch. I'm still going to read your answer live because it's on the paper, man. It's on the paper. So
It's written.
yeah. Tim wrote the original just because it's where it all started.
Fair.
Tammy wrote NX01, spiffy, sporty, zippy.
Okay.
I like the ways people are writing their answers is great. And John Wells wrote, definitely the Enterprise E. I love the design and interior, especially the bridge. Take it to the bridge. The whole ship looks sleek and advanced, with little nods back to previous Enterprises. I guess you can say it didn't have any surprises.
No, just
Are you not entertained?
my buttons didn't press. Oh no.
I was waiting for the button.
There it is. I was on the wrong page. Who's next?
Me. Shannon wrote Disco Era Enterprise. Definitely.
She is a beauty.
Shannon. Oh,
Shannon.
I pointed over the wrong shoulder.
All right. Astro Alligator wrote, the 1701 refit is my favorite. The ship has become as much of a character as any of her crew, and when Kirk sacrificed her in search for Spock, it was devastating. Seeing the 1701A at the end of Voyage Home brought tears. I'm not crying. You're crying.
You're crying.
It's true. Yeah.
Maverick wrote, the TOS Enterprise has always been and will always be my favorite version of the ship.
And Carlos wrote, the new Disco 1701. It look amazing.
And we're going to get to see so much more of it. Woo woo.
We're just going there.
Soon. Erica wrote, I still watch the big reveal of the refit Enterprise and TMP and get goosebumps.
Yeah, I could still watch that, and just...
You get a goosebump for every nacelle.
That's as much seeing the Enterprise and Jerry Goldsmith's score combined. So...
Was that the one where it was the really long video?
8 minutes and 56 seconds.
Okay,
Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
The one the Cerritos made fun of?
Yes,
Yeah. I really enjoyed that for some reason. I was like, this is so long, but I get it.
Is it me? It's me, right?
Yes.
Hawk went. SL wrote, I seem to be the minority, but the 1701D stole a piece of my heart when it turned up after such a long drought. I'm assuming from original series to Next Generation.
Mm-hmm.
Lamplighter wrote, I
Oh,
love
not
the
the D.
Discovery version. The bridge is the bridge in particular looks amazing.
I do like the disco ship. It's a good one. And Patron Collective member Joe, ooh, fancy, wrote, I really like the design of the 1701C. It doesn't look like a hotel like the D.
I don't think that ship gets enough love.
I don't like it. I don't like
Really?
I don't like the neck and the lines in the neck. This is like a preview of what our ships
Wait,
alive
so
episode
you don't
is.
like the seams?
I mean, March 18th. No, I'm not giving that to you. Sorry.
But that was a refit joke.
Mm-mm.
No,
Mm-mm.
not even clothing. No, I'm trying.
I want to know what the hell is going on.
I want to know too. I don't know.
Next.
Me. Rob wrote, the original, as without her, there is no Enterprise.
And I should note that is not, I believe, our Rob. That is.
I mean, we still have the car rental.
They're all our Robs
Oh.
now.
They're all our
of
Robs.
them.
Yes.
Every Rob we see is our Rob. Like
If they
every
had
giraffe
become
I
one.
see. Every giraffe I see, whether it's
It's
in a
spotted.
zoo or on TV.
Like the giraffe
Or
case
lyrical.
at the Philadelphia Zoo.
Every giraffe is spotted.
Every giraffe has a French accent.
Every mag has a second mag.
I like it.
Oh god,
Who's next?
it's you.
It's me, Mario. Philip wrote, the TMP refit. No design will ever top it, in my opinion. It's perfect.
Dan wrote, a big fan of the NCC 1701D. She's just a sleek ship, powerful, full of promise, families exploring together.
What
That's
are
what they say
families
about me.
doing on a
Good
star
point.
She's sleek, powerful, full of promise.
A cruise ship with weapons.
Yeah.
And-
Oh, man.
And EW wrote, the disco era recreation of Pike's Enterprise 1701. They did a loving adaptation combining the motion picture refit with the original. I can dig it.
Just real quick. So I think JD did change theirs from the 1701 JJ to the all good. Oh, okay. So they're giving love to the all good things. 3 nacelle 1701D changing their answer.
You know why?
I like it. Rob also says that he can't wait to see more of the disco prize. And also says the C is a step between the Constitution and the galaxy. Before we knew that the B was Excelsior, which is very true. So NY Rally says, I like the ambassador class design. It seemed more practical than the galaxy class. I will give you that. It is more practical. It is not more sleek, but it is more practical. We just did EW, right?
Yep. I think
yeah.
I'm next. So Joshua wrote, the NX-01 Mirror Universe paint job. Yeah.
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 Everybody
Good.
loves a Mirror Universe paint job. Look at our logo.
Yep.
They just did everything so cool in the Mirror Universe, even the uniforms.
Mhm.
Yep. Oh, they're so good.
So good to be bad.
So good to be bad. Matt C wrote, got to give it up and throw it down for one of the one that was my entry point to the franchise back in 1994, the iconic Galaxy Class 1701D.
Hold on.
What?
The D came out in 1994. I'm as old as the D.
It didn't come out in 94 generation.
Okay. I was just like, what? No way. Anyway.
Close.
And
I'm the
Sorry.
94D. I'm just owning it.
94. Dan D wrote the Enterprise F seen in Star Trek Online.
It's a nice ship. The Odyssey class. It's sleek and it's sexy. I like it.
You ought to see it.
Can I admit real
Online.
quick that I understand some people are really good with this, but I have to like look at the ships. I had to look at them all in a little graphic to know which one was which. I am not good with that kind of stuff. I'm like, which letter was
She's
which
like the
one?
Voyager, just Voyager.
The Voyager, yeah, and Voyager and the Delta Flyers. We should do one on which had the best shuttles and stuff. Ooh.
We're gonna do the whole ships of the line with shuttles and everything on March 18th.
Oh, okay,
That
great.
is happening.
I'll have a
Shoot.
graphic.
Yes.
And to be fair, Aaron, they've blown up the ship like 1,000 times. So
That's what I'm saying.
like Beverly literally says in First Contact, there's always more letters in the alphabet. So
which one was First Contact? My favorite ship.
the E.
Okay, that's the best one. There you go. Done.
Yep. There you go. Who's
Amazing.
next? I believe Hawk, you're back. No,
Is it on Instagram?
it's
That's
Instagram.
me.
That's you.
That's me. Our friend Mike. Is it Shouse or Shouse?
Shouse.
Okay, because
Shouse.
you guys all say it differently, and I'm always like in between, and I float it when he's on. I'm like Shouse. I'm like, "Ooh." Like I will elongate them vowels. Okay, so Mike Shouse wrote the Enterprise A, especially as it appeared at the end of Voyage Home. Such a classy vessel.
The Enterprise A's bridge in Star Trek 6 is awesome because then it's like the same bridge you see on the Enterprise B in Generations. It's very close. I always like that bridge a lot, and it's very
Wanna drink
naval.
tea with it.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
the Captain Sulu.
Sassy.
Indeed.
Classy.
Indeed.
So
Slow
that
Fiat. He's the next one up. Slow Fiat 83 wrote the refit NCC 1701, specifically with the intricate pearlescent. Am I
you
pronouncing
got
that
it right. Yep.
All right. Paint job as seen in the motion picture because it got dulled down somewhat for the sequels.
I think they're right about that.
That was an amazing. I love that they used pearlescent.
I know.
Like,
Yeah.
All of these answers were great.
Effervescent, man. Effervescent.
Thank you to everyone who did these. I'm going to read the last one here. Ben wrote, you guys are going to kill me, but I like the Kelvin Timeline Enterprise. Not going to kill you. She's sexy. She is a sexy ship. We love her. She's great. Like I said, thank you so much for all these submissions. It was awesome to hear all of these takes. We have a little bit more on Twitch here. Aaron, Rob wants to know which of Voyager's 874 pre-Delta Flyer shuttles was coolest.
Oh, every single one of them while they were intact, and then as soon as they exploded, they were garbage. You move to the next one, but once they got the Delta Flyer, that was it.
And Jay had a really interesting question. Does anyone here think that we should have a Defiant class Enterprise?
No,
Let's have
I'm
a
gonna say
Defiant class
no.
the
everything.
Defiant's its own thing.
Just because the Enterprise is the flagship, it's supposed to be big, right? And the Defiant, like tough little ship, you know? Yeah. No, maybe.
It's a defiant little ship, first of all.
Okay.
Don't drag the name.
So we put all of these awesome submissions into a hat. And Aaron, would you like to read our winner?
I would love to do that. Dan at Travel with Dan, congratulations. You won an ASNP, I almost said something else. ASNP prize pack. Woo!
Yay!
Stickers,
Woo!
a pin, and a magnet of our alternate Mirror Universe logo that are only currently available to our patrons. Yay!
Ooh,
Yeah.
Hey,
That's
congrats,
awesome.
Dan. So we will be in touch with you via Twitter to get you your prize shipped. So congratulations again. And
Dan.
yeah,
I'm
so
gonna tweet it up.
yeah, we're going to tweet it up. Let's get to the moment that I feel like
Let's
our
get
Discord
fired
collective,
up.
our patron collective, like have been hyping up this episode because I think some people think it's just going to be war, and it might be. It might be. So we'll get right into it. It is our Star Trek Nemesis deep dive. It is the finale of our Star Trek The Next Generation film deep dives. And Hawk, would you like to read the synopsis of the 10th and final Berman era Star Trek film?
Absolutely. A coup d'etat on Romulus brings a new praetor, Shinzon, to power. However, Shinzon is not a Romulan, but rather a genetic duplicate of Captain Jean-Luc Picard. After being banished to the planet Remus for years, he now plots to draw the Starship Enterprise and her crew into a deadly confrontation and destroy the Federation once and for all.
That accurately sums up this movie pretty well. Sometimes these synopsises blow, and this one was pretty good. So
Instead, in this one, the Enterprise blew right the fuck up.
a lot.
Yeah.
Jean-Luc just
He was like, "Oh, it's Shinzon. Time to take shins off the gloves."
I'm gonna give you that one because it was very good. Okay, guys, let's get into it. So Act 1 of Star Trek Nemesis. So real quick, Jay says it was war last night, but I have a feeling we have peace tonight. We'll see. That remains to be seen. So Act 1, on Romulus, members of the Senate debate the terms of peace, and I should say the Romulan Senate, debate the terms of peace and alliance from the Reman rebel leader Shinzon. The Remans, if you don't know, are a slave race of the Romulan Empire used as miners and cannon fodder. They serve aboard Romulan ships, so they're usually the first to get shot if they get a little too talky. Not good. While a faction of the military supports Shinzon, the praetor and Senate are opposed to an alliance. So after rejecting the motion, the praetor and senators are disintegrated. Pretty ugly. I love this scene by a device left in the room by a rogue senator. Meanwhile, the crew of the USS Enterprise prepare to bid farewell to the newly married Will Riker and Deanna Troi. I got goosebumps just saying that because I love them. Back on board the Enterprise, the crew discover an energy reading on a planet near the Romulan neutral zone. Captain Picard, Worf, and Data, of course, they send all the important people, land on the planet, and discover the remnants of an android resembling Data named B4, which is just dumb. I know.
I thought it was fucking hilarious.
Of course you did. It's like right up your alley.
I know. That's the pun I would have made.
It totally.
The other one would have been after. Like,
Rob says Worf, who has yet another reason to show up in these films. Right. Once brought back on board for Geordi and Data to analyze, the crew deduced to be an earlier version of a Sung-type android. So a lot to take in the first act of this film. What did we think about the opening act with basically the coup killing the entire Romulan Senate, and then the kind of use of another Sung-type android trope in Star Trek?
I like that they did it sooner better than later. Also,
Shut up, Wesley.
In the beginning, I thought that was wild. I was like, ooh, Senate, crazy shit, death. And then it went straight to like Tatooine levels of like, I was like, what are you doing out here in the sand? I mean, they had a fucking buggy. They had a Star Trek Doom buggy. That was wild. I wasn't expecting that. I haven't seen this film before. I was like, what? Anyway, it was fun.
I mean, you go ahead, Hawk. You go ahead.
So love the opening. It's nice to kind of, when you get those little inside glimpses into a race like the Romulans, it's always kind of a treat in that. Yeah, love the whole assassination of the entire Senate floor. The
they were
introduction,
pretty floored by it too.
They were floored.
Oh my god!
Senate straight to hell. What?
The introduction of
buttons.
I know we have to get some new sound effects. The introduction of a new Sung type android. I was excited when I kind of when this was first introduced in that. A little less so as the film progressed on in that. I was hoping for more of a personality.
A lack thereof, right?
That's probably what people were hoping for this film too.
Yeah.
More of a personality.
Yeah, agreed.
I like the wedding.
The wedding was very nice.
Yeah, for me, this is probably, I like First Contact's opener, right? Like with the nightmare sequence, I like that a lot. Insurrection is just dumb. But with this, like, this got me into the movie immediately. Like, you know from First Contact, right? Like from the get-go, from the posters and everything, this is going to be a Borg movie. Not so much with the poster with Insurrection. The poster for this, you kind of know it's going to be Romulans. But to have this movie open up with the entire Romulan Senate getting murdered, like that just brought me in. I was like, okay, I'm here for this because we don't get the Romulans very often. This was a badass way to not only bring them in, but bring them right back out the door. It was just, yeah, you like that?
Yeah, Julian's joking now.
It brought me like right into the movie. I'm like, okay, I'm here for this. And then of course, when they all die, going to, a later moment, going to the wedding, and you're thinking, okay, this is going to be really nice. And the wedding was nice, and Jean-Luc's speech is nice. And I don't really have anything, bad to say about like the first two parts of the film, right? Like the Senate scene's great. The wedding is good. I wish, like a lot of people say, that the deleted scenes that are a major part of the like what went wrong with this movie were in the movie. Like Wesley had lines.
There's deleted scenes?
Yeah, there's deleted scenes. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Julian,
do you have the DVD? I need to borrow it immediately.
I do. You can
you can watch them all on YouTube.
Yep, that's true.
Okay, I know what I'm doing tonight.
Yeah.
But you know, like the thing is, it's unfinished. Like you see Guinan sitting there, but then you see Michelle Forbes, who played Ro. She's there, but she doesn't have like her makeup, right? She doesn't have the Bajorn, nose thing. Wesley doesn't have any lines. It's very quick, and then boom, you're on the Enterprise, and then it gets okay. We're going to a planet. The Enterprise E, which is the flagship, has a dune buggy, and there's another Sung type android. I'm just like, okay, now you're starting to lose me, because B4 we'd had it with lore, and we had multiple episodes with lore, and B4 just with this movie didn't work for me at all.
Yeah, he was a huge B-bore.
I was gonna say, you know how I normally feel about lore.
I don't have my red alert on here for some reason.
Okay.
That's really disappointing.
Julian's very frazzled tonight. I'm gonna find lots of sounds and send them.
Rob on Twitch said it's so tonally mismatched. Pick an intro. It's so jarring to run them back and back to back like that. I don't know if I agree with that, with the like going from the Senate to the wedding, but I do kind of agree. Like, okay, Senate, wedding, dune buggy. That was a bit. You
didn't want them to have the dune buggy at the wedding, like.
I mean, that would have been like a good. That might have
step.
been like the bachelor party the night before.
Could you imagine? Just like, we found Riker. He was just wandering around the desert. This is some.
Aaron, I know that you had a lot of feelings on the dune buggy bits.
I like the wedding. I think the idea of the opening with the Romulans is cool, but I think that it was super predictable. Like, she's got this, it's not even small, this big dumb red device, and it's the only thing on this giant table. Like, nobody's got like future laptops or anything out, or like there's no like flowers or something, nothing to even hide this behind. And she's like,
that was
hey,
the Diet Coke button.
Yeah, everybody, I know we're having this big meeting and everything, but I gotta go. Also, I'm gonna leave this big fucking thing there. Like, I was just, the idea of it is cool, and like it's a great opening scene. Like, oh my god, they just killed the raid. But I was like, you could have done it in a way that was more.
But aren't Romulans smart, and they're all about hiding?
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. It's like, there's a lot of times in this movie that feel like they're telling you something and they're showing it to you at the same time. Whereas I felt in First Contact, it let you discover things and it didn't make you feel that this movie just, this part of it is difficult for me. The whole movie's difficult for me. I just feel like there's no discovery in it. You're just watching it and it's just, it's just happening. And you're like, all right. Yeah.
And I do think
Buggy was dumb.
And I do think that comes down to the director, and we're going to talk about that a lot later on. Stuart Baird was not the right person.
So it all dune buggied you guys?
Yeah, it did, Brittany. It did. Yeah, go ahead on.
I gotta agree with Aaron in that the big red, like, what was it? Like, it wasn't a wallet. It wasn't a cell phone.
Could have been a purse. Could have been like not a merce. But it
a murder purse.
And they watched it too. They were like, it was like boop boop boop, and they were like, "What's that?" And it went boop boop boop. Nobody was like, "Oh my god, it's a weapon! Run away!" Like, that's what you do if you're in a Senate and a bunch of like somebody leaves dramatically, and you have big tensions and some device open. I would be like, "Everybody, get out right now!"
Like,
right.
Or maybe
and not only that.
Go ahead.
Suspicious ass Romulans, you think?
But a Romulan Senate, yes, whose
Yeah.
whole lives are revolved around suspicion and mistrust.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, oh, she left suddenly and left this on the table. I'm
Maybe
sure
it was
it's
the
just
equivalent
fine.
of like a plant thing
Right.
or something. You know what I mean? Like something like a really asinine object that like we wouldn't think of. Like to them, it was literally just like, oh, like this is a pencil holder.
And
like,
no one sitting next to her was like, hey, you forgot your thing, because that's what you do, right? Like, oh, hey, your thing.
I'm still willing.
Take your bomb with you, bitch.
I'm still willing to forgive that because it does set up the movie in a really cool way. And I thought, I like the effect. I like them all basically like freezing and then turning to dust, stone and dust.
Of all the crimes of this film, it is the lowest one.
Right. That's fair. That's fair. Do we want to go into a little bit more on B4 from the get-go, or do we want to kind of talk more about him in Act 2? Let's go to Act 2. Jean-Luc receives a transmission from the recently promoted Admiral Janeway.
Woo! That was a great part.
Awesome.
My head
There's only
I was like,
one way,
Janeway.
and it's the Janeway.
It was really cool to see her, and she was written just like Janeway would be as an admiral. Like I loved her, though. She had one line that was like, she was like, the Sona, the Borg, whatever the other people that she mentioned.
The
was
Romulans.
like, the Romulans, like, and she's like excited. She's like, you get all the fun jobs, Jean-Luc. I don't know if she's being sarcastic or not, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure Janeway wants to never deal with the Borg ever again.
Yeah, she's had her fill.
Yeah, just a little bit. So he gets his transmission from Admiral Janeway, who orders the Enterprise on a diplomatic mission to Romulus. And of course, when he gets back on the bridge and he's like, helm, set a course for Romulus, everybody's like, the fuck? Yeah. Yeah, we're going to Romulus.
They're
so
like, you're taking all of Romulus? Thanks.
Not us. Where Shinzon has taken over the Empire in a coup and professes a desire for peace with the Federation, which is, of course, bullshit.
Every time I hear coup, I'm just like, 2 weeks ago.
Rob would just like to point out three promotions in 2 years when Harry couldn't get one promotion in 7 years. Oh, man. Mag's here. Hey, Mag.
Mag.
So upon arrival to Romulus, they learn Shinzon is a clone.
Jean-Luc Picard.
Shinzon. Oh my god. Excuse me.
Oh my god.
Okay. Shinzon is a clone of Picard, secretly created by the Romulans to plant a high-ranking spy into the Federation, which, if you're gonna do it, was actually a pretty brilliant idea on their part. But like is very Romulus and any new political cabinet coming in, the project was abandoned when Shinzon was still a child, and he was left on Remus to die as a slave. After many years, Shinzon became a leader to the Remans. I don't still know how that works out. And then gave them a purpose and constructed a heavily armed flagship, the Scimitar, which also, how do you build a warship that size with all of its weaponry like under the Romulans' noses, going back to them being like the master spies?
They were very hidden with it. Okay, but hear me out. This movie's much better if you just look at it as like the weirdest version of Dune possible. He's the leader of the Remans, not the Fremens. You know what I mean? Like, there was sand. There weren't any worms, but like, I was just...
It could have been Data before swimming through the dirt.
I can't.
Julian, you know what would have been a better plot than the plot of this movie? The actual story of Shinzon replacing Picard. That would have been an awesome movie.
Okay,
would have been
can
cool.
we talk about the parallels? The Tom Hardy parallels to his Bane. Like, immediately when I heard he was like, I lived in darkness since I was a child, raised as a slave, whatever. And I was just like, hold on. All you did for Dark Knight Rises is take that exact backstory and switch Bane with Talia.
I didn't even know that was Bane.
Bane was like,
until I was an adult. Well,
yeah.
by then it was nothing to me but life.
Exactly. And he's just like, what will break first, Jean-Luc? Your spirit? Or your spaceship? Like, it was fucking amazing. This whole film, I was just cracking up. But once again, it's because I've seen Dark Knight Rises, and that added a level, I think, that people couldn't have enjoyed when this originally came out in 2002.
Yeah, fair enough. Like, and people know from watching in the watch along last night, like I do like this movie. It's not perfect and it's not great by any means, but I like it. So let's continue. So obviously we just talked about how it somehow was able to build the Scimitar, which is, even though like how it's a really fucking cool ship. I know you didn't like it too much, Blast. I think it's pretty cool.
I think it looks cool, but I think it's the problem is there's like, it looks cool, but like how did that get made? And like
scraps.
It's
slave
the problem
labor.
of, like, we made a cool looking thing, but it doesn't make any sense.
Fair. So back on board the Enterprise, Geordi discovers that Scimitar is producing low levels of deadly Thalaron radiation, which I think Beverly at one point says like one drop of that could just kill everybody on the Enterprise if they were exposed to it. there are also some unexpected attempts to communicate with the Enterprise computers, and Shinzon, in a scene, and we're going to talk about this, violates Troy's mind through the telepathy of his Freeman viceroy. Let's go into
I
this
was
real
not a
quick.
fan of that.
No one
scene.
is, and no one should
one.
be. How, I think someone said it in our watch along last night, how CBS, Viacom, Paramount approved this to be in the movie after
In
there was already
2002.
in 2002, and after it already happened in Troy in like multiple episodes is just concerning.
Mhm.
Yeah. That was the one part of this movie where I definitely was like, yeah, I really, 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 really don't like that. Like, apart from the fact that I already don't like when people do mind things because it gets sort of rapey to begin with. To
Yeah.
also have it happen while she was having sex with Riker, I was just like, yeah, if I was her, even as an actress, I would have been uncomfortable with it. I would just been like, do we really have to like be doing this? Where like I'm supposed to be having sex with Riker, and then all of a sudden it's the bad guy on top of me? Like, Tom Hardy's cool and all, but like that's so fucking creepy. I don't think he even enjoyed filming that as an actor. Like, it just felt.
I don't think anyone enjoyed filming that,
Yeah.
and I think we talked about it at the beginning before we went live. I think Marina Sirtis had called the director Stuart Baird an idiot. So
Publicly, yes.
I would
What's
too.
the purpose of this scene? Because I feel like a lot of times in this movie, they were like, oh, you know what'd be cool if we had a dune buggy in Star Trek, so let's write a scene for that. Instead of saying, here's the story, what serves the story? And what is served from the story of her being basically raped is because it doesn't make us, we already know Shinzon's a bad character. He has enough bad character things going on that instead of doing that, I think they should be trying to do something to make him have some sort of likableness, not make us go, he's doing this for his own fun and pleasure. And then are they making Troy's agency in this movie that she got raped and she wants revenge? Is that her story? Because that seems to be her entire story in this movie.
I mean that's what happens.
Yeah, it's just.
But that's garbage. You know,
no,
it's
agreed.
Yeah, definitely.
I get that there, in terms of like Shinzon's plot, Troy might have been some sort of an obstacle in that, and that, they wrote this in some way as to kind of, take her out of the picture or, compromise her in that. But there were so many ways that they could have done.
with
gone about it.
rapiness.
With people that are like empathic
I don't think
and
it was that. I
telepathic,
think it was
you can take them out
creepiness.
of in so many different ways without being fucking creepy. But once again,
Like
I think
disgusting.
it's a product of. I mean, look at how many movies are still made now that just include rape for no reason. I mean, they did it with Game of Thrones. They literally made Sansa
I stopped
get
watching
raped.
that show, man.
Oh yeah, when Sansa like got raped that one season, when it doesn't even happen in the books, and it was literally just because the actress turned 18 or like they were able to. I was like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah,
so that's where I stand. And even back to Spock doing his mind shit in
Star Trek 6.
Undiscovered Country.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the fact that he
Can't
kept
let
calling her
Spock do that.
Imzadi and that was like, it was the throwback to like, like the episode of TNG where it dealt with this entire subject matter in that, probably in a much better fashion than this did. But
that, to be fair,
it was really unnecessary callback.
Yeah, and not a new story, right? It's another piece of like, it's been done. And
no, this is definitely one of the should not have been in the films and one of its not bright points.
They
Lexi,
destroyed her character.
Yeah, Lexi on YouTube says, I maintain it would have been a stronger film if they went more of a redemption path, which I agree. I think she's referring to Shinzon and Picard. Let's continue. Dr. Crusher discovers that Shinzon is aging rapidly because of the process used to clone him. This is like that typical clone trope. Clone is quickly disintegrating because clone. The only
Star Trek.
very
jargon.
It's
something
very
been done. Another been done story.
Hey, what about the saggy face people from last time?
No. So the only possible treatment is a transfusion of Picard's blood because, of course. So Shinzon kidnaps Picard and B4, which is actually it's a cool reverse. It's actually Data, having planted the android on the nearby planet as a lure, which is dumb.
As a lure?
Yep.
Nice.
I give
was a
that
good
one to you. Data reveals he swapped places with B4 and rescues Picard in a pretty cool like escape from the ship scene. They determine that Shinzon plans to use the scimitar to invade the Federation, using a Sailoron radiation generator to eradicate all life. A lot to digest in Act 2. We already talked about the rapey Deanna scene, which isn't cool. A lot of twists and turns, though. What did we think about? I think we talked about it a little bit already. The Janeway cameo, Shinzon's reveal, and that initial battle between the two ships.
I saw the reveal coming. I just want to say it.
Yeah, predictable.
I was like, bald, British accent, definitely not French, even though they probably want him to be, oh, my name is Shinzon. Shut up. You know what I mean? I was just like, Jean-Luc out. You got a double, buddy. So yeah, I could hardly believe it. But it happened. It happened. I love Janeway though. My head snapped up when I heard her voice. You know, because I was like doing my paints and like watching at the same time, and then I was like, oh, Janeway. So, Janeway to go with that cameo.
Gotta get your Voyager cameos in there.
You do.
Janeway cameo, awesome. It makes sense that she was an admiral at this point. I think 7 years in the
She ain't flying ever again.
No, she's like desk
me the desk job.
Yeah,
she was full 3-bird, 3-pip admiral there. I wonder if they actually just promoted her right away to CNC. You know, if she was just head of Starfleet.
Well, can you imagine the information she came back with? And like, you can actually do all this stuff.
She jump-started them like 10,000 years. She's like, here's all the information from
that cool whole plated armor. What the hell was that called?
A blade of armor.
Yeah, and then transwarp, and they got some shit done in 7 years. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if she has 3 pips.
Rob is correcting me. 4 pips on each side is head of Starfleet. Janeway had 3. Way to crush my dreams, dude. She's a vice admiral. So okay, I thought yes, you're right. Actually, 3 is vice admiral. Boom.
Pips out for Janeway.
I'm gonna be the guy who steers away and says, I really like Shinzon. I really like the reveal. I said it earlier, the idea of the Romulans, which this is exactly what they would do, trying to put a plant in him. And it makes even more sense after Picard, because we see that they have like operatives everywhere in the Federation. Literally, they caused the Mars attack, right? Like that was them. That was the Zhat Vash. Commodore O is a Romulan. Like, just they were in deep.
Commodore O snap.
So to try and you know, replace the captain of the flagship, that would be a huge win. Of course, it didn't happen. And I get the whole like being left behind. This sucks. I'm going to take over and I'm going to destroy everything. It's not a bad story. Did I ever think in a million years that he was going to like, you know, do a redemption like Lexi said and become good? No. I mean, Shinzon was always going to die. Picard versus evil clone. That's the movie. Is it a good idea though? I think it is. And I think that part of the movie worked for the most part. It could have been better, but I think it worked. So
they were, you could feel them like kind of reaching. It's like, if we're gonna do this Last Generations movie and that, we gotta go back to the well and that, and it's like give him an opponent that only Picard can face off against, and that, Wrath of Connie moment in that,
Mm-hmm. I feel like that was the Borg though. Julian, I hear what you're saying. I think the idea of Shinzon is good. But again, I think this story that he was telling was better than the story we saw. Like the idea of him trying to replace Picard, I think that is a good story. I think the redemption idea could have been a good story. But I think it was a really bad story. Especially like after the rapey thing, which he did for no reason other than like he was enjoying that and he wanted to keep doing it. And after that, I was done. Like I was so done.
She was shins off.
It's rape, and it's just.
Oh, I'm not saying that that's good in any shape, way, or form.
I know you're not, but I'm saying that to me, the character, there's nothing. I just can't enjoy the character after that. Like, there's no redemption. There's nothing that interests me about him, and I know they're trying to make him a bad guy, but it takes it out of the realm of I'm watching a show and like this guy is a bad guy, just to like. This is just disgusting. Like it took me out of it.
Yeah, like he's like, you want a fun sci-fi villain? But then this does happen a lot as a woman. You'll be watching a movie and you're like, this is going to be really cool. And then the villain does some rapey shit or something happens. And then you're just like,
I'm out.
Because then that's like in your brain the rest of the day. And you're like, this is not okay. So I get that. I wanted to like Shinzon more. But that,
of course,
that is the thing I come back to. The one thing about this movie where I'm just like, as much as I'll say it was a blast in general, I'm just like, yeah, I could have done without that whole scene in part.
And the cast and crew have all come out and said the same thing. It had no place being in the movie. I know Marina Sirtis was not happy with it. Go ahead, Hawk.
And it contradicts some of the elements of the story in that, because there was a point where Jean-Luc was reaching out saying, you know, it's like part of you is me, you know, you could be better than that. That's, you know, there's nothing in Picard's DNA that would ever consider that a good tactic.
No.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And I think Shinzon actually has a line where he's like, if you had everything that happened to me, you'd be doing the same thing. And I think Jean-Luc's like, never in a million years.
I do think that if that scene wasn't in this movie, like if I never knew that scene happened, I don't think I would feel as strongly about it as about it being awful as I do, because it just is so awful. And they do that quick flashback where he's telling the story, which again I think is not great storytelling, but he's telling you what happened, and they're doing those weird flashbacks where he's a kid. That's an attempt to build, for us, we feel for the character. He went through hard things, so even though he's going about this the wrong way, we would feel for him. However, these other things just make him, there's no redemption there, and again, it's just not a story anymore. It's just bad.
Yeah, that's fair. Let's talk about, I would say maybe something we could all agree on here. The space battles in the scene were pretty awesome. The Scimitar, like 26 something photon torpedo bays, a bunch of quantum torpedo bays going up against the Enterprise, which, was made more of a warship because of the Dominion War, right? So it's pretty decked out too, but it's still no match. These opening scenes, and then also the addition of Dinatra's new like sleeked out warbirds. Like ILM did a really good job with the CG, and I think NY Rowlight said in our watch along, it felt very naval this time around, which was really cool.
Yeah, I agree. Totally seems more strategic for sure.
More of the action sequences seem to take place in a much more three-dimensional space, and that, like in the episodes we always kind of, especially in TNG, and that we kind of get these two ships kind of facing each other directly, and that, and this just was like circular in that, attacking like their dorsal section, the aft section,
That was cool too, because they see like the shields, starting to like get weak because he's attacking one section of the ship, and Picard has to, he has to account for that, and he turns the ship a certain way, and it was I loved every moment of that.
Yeah, it seems more. My throat's not working. Sorry. It seemed more like high stakes battle wise, like as opposed to just like, oh, shields are compromised at 20%, whatever. Like it was a lot more maneuvering. It was like even them calling out like, oh, like I think he even said like Shinzon maneuver theta or something like that. Like just calling out these different, like you hardly hear the bad guys or whoever they're fighting actually call out their maneuvers or do more than just, it's always that head to head.
And there was even like once like Enterprise got fucked up pretty badly. There was like, I think Riker said like enable Kirk Epsilon to like get things back up and running. Like there was a term
when the bridge blew up, like that hole in the bridge, and then like you're waiting for the shields to come back up, and people are just getting like ripped out, and then it's like, whoosh, and you see like everybody sit up, and then like Picard's like, oh my god, you're like, what is
almost
happening?
Dead. Just going back to we got to talk about it because I want to make sure some people on our Twitch and YouTube get heard here. Lexi on YouTube said referring to the Deanna scene, it really is the worst scene that adds nothing and just cripples everything else about the movie, which you can't disagree with. Rob says at the time it came out, it felt like they were trying so hard to copy the naval nebula battle in Wrath of Khan. I would agree, but that's really cool. And if I got that kind of battle in every Star Trek movie, I'd actually be really happy to get that's how it should be, right? It's in space. They still follow those kind of, 3 and 4 dimensional guidelines. I think I loved it. So anybody have anything else in Act 2 before we move on to the final act? No? All right. Act 3. The Enterprise races back to Federation space, but is ambushed by the Scimitar, which we kind of already talked about with the battle, despite the aid of 2 Romulan warbirds led by Commander Dinatra, who for whatever reason is like one of my favorite new characters, and I think she's mentioned in the new Dark Veil book. I think I could be wrong about that. I loved her, and that's Dina Meyer from Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's awesome. And then Enterprise is heavily damaged, as we saw, and Picard, in a last-ditch effort after like the Romulan warbirds get like their engines blown off, and the Scimitar has been just blowing like every part of the Enterprise up. Picard, in like probably the most baller Star Trek move ever.
It was
Like,
the Janeway move from Year of Hell.
It was the Janeway move from Year of Hell.
The Janeway maneuver.
I think one of the only times you see texting in Star Trek, because at that point Deanna, because the helmsman had gotten sucked out of the view screen, Deanna was at the helm and Picard's texting like, full to impulse, brace for impact, shit's gonna go down, and he fucking head on rams the Scimitar. One of the coolest Star Trek moments, I think, in any of the film's history. I mean, like, I don't even think Kirk would have done that, and he blew his ship up. I don't think he would have rammed the Enterprise. What did you guys think about this kind of like last-ditch effort by Jean-Luc?
I thought he put the ram in Ramulans, you know? He just thought, he was like, I really want to do
off
something.
my bridge.
Like the helmsman got off that bridge real quick.
Yep. It was the Helm's Deep moment.
I think I think he took a few notes from Will over the years and that, because I know Will did the same thing in the Insurrection and that. It's like he wouldn't. He would.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gotta do what you gotta do sometimes, you know? I enjoyed it, but as soon as he did it, since like I've at least seen that much of Voyager, I was even like, oh, Janeway did that when they ran out of torpedoes.
That's right.
Like, it was so great, because then, and that was when also because the ship was, you know, hit and there was that huge like hull breach and the shields took over, it like reminded me exactly of that. Because remember when I made the joke when we were watching Voyager, I was like, she didn't even need a view screen because she could just see right out into space. And I was like, oh, same thing, there's a hole in the side, Picard's gonna ram. I was like, way to go, Admiral
It's the Camaro version of the Enterprise.
Yeah. Mag wanted to point out to you that this is absolutely Janeway rammed Voyager and the Anorak's ship. Just like
Called it.
Rob wanted to point out, and it's very true, still no seatbelts, but the seatbelts do show up in a deleted scene. They finally get them.
My favorite part was when Bernie got ripped out into space.
Oh, just sitting in his chair.
He was sitting there in the background, you know.
I mean, it's a good thing he had the gloves on.
Right?
Right?
Oh, God.
NYRL Light says, I've got to speak up for the battle scenes in Nemesis. They were the highlight of the movie to me, especially compared to what was done in Insurrection. Because the CG in Insurrection was pretty freaking shoddy. Yeah.
This one was
will
more
agree
shoddy.
with that.
Get it? Shoddy?
Did you not like the ramming scene?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I thought it was fine. But to be honest, I was so far out of it at that point. I was like, this. I think that because the movie was so long, like I think if it had been shorter, because what is it with bad movies being so long? Like, have you seen G.I. Joe? That movie goes on forever. But anyway, if it would have been shorter, I think I would have been more like, all right, here we go. But at this point, I was like, this movie is still on.
I think this one felt shorter than the last one we watched.
Agreed.
Insurrection is the long as fuck.
Yeah.
Lexi says Bernie Arcade.
Also, like, pacing wise, Bernie Arcade. But I just remembered that meme from earlier.
They're all so good.
No, the one that was like when Saru figured out like how the burn happened.
Someone actually made a point, because like there's literally a Bernie meme for everything in a span of 24 hours. Someone compared the Bernie memes to tribbles, because they're just reproducing at an exponential rate.
I need somebody to make one that's Michael Burnham, and it's just her, but like
oh, that would be cute. Or like all the tribbles coming out onto Kirk, except it's just lots of little Bernies.
Yeah, right. Rob's gonna kill me if I don't get one of his bad complaints about this movie, and so I will read this one. He says, Insurrection was poor, but it wasn't a train wreck like Nemesis. Disagree, sir. Disagree.
There wasn't a single train in this film.
You like Nemesis more than Insurrection?
I like Nemesis like 10 times more than Insurrection. Yeah.
Okay.
I like Nemesis. I don't like Insurrection. Let's continue. So obviously the ramming speed that forces Shinzon's hand, and he activates the Thalaron weapon. Picard boards the Scimitar alone to face Shinzon and kills him by impaling him on like a metal strut. Like, really? Like, you could just pull those down?
Yeah.
Get better engineers, guys. With Enterprise's transporters damaged, This scene still kills me. Data leaps the distance between the two ships going through where like the Enterprise doesn't have any ship anymore. It's just like open space. And he flies over because, he can breathe in space. And he
doesn't need to breathe at all.
He doesn't need to breathe at all. And he has an emergency transporter with him. This leads to Data's ultimate sacrifice, destroying the Thalon generator along with himself and the scimitar. The crew mourn Data and are later contacted by Nanatra, who informs the crew that they have made a friend within the Romulan Empire based on the events of the battle with Shinzon. Let's talk about this. Data's sacrifice.
Minor correction on the action in that. In that when Data used like two different doors in that.
He did. So
Geordi seals the door behind him, and then he goes for the running.
They had the force fields up so people weren't just flying into space.
Was it a force field?
It was.
Okay.
So okay. Yeah, the reason he was able to do it because the Enterprise like didn't have like a third of its saucer section.
Yeah.
So,
I was also gonna say, as long as he has momentum, he can just make it. Because you can float through space like that as long as nothing else impedes you.
Yeah, he
doesn't need to breathe, so
he got a little lucky. But what did we think? One of the major taglines for this movie and leading up to it before it came out was that someone was going to die. One of the main bridge crew was going to die. How do we feel about it being Data and the way it was handled?
Well, it was always kind of seemed to me like it was going to be Riker. With the wedding scene and everything, and there was like starting this new life together in that, and then like the way they kind of framed his battle, I was convinced it was going to be Riker.
Total red herring moment. I was convinced it was going to be Riker too when I first saw it.
Yeah. I feel like if Data was going to die, it would have been more meaningful in First Contact because the movie was really focused on him. That was sort of like the B story. And then at the end when he's like, resistance is futile, ka-cha! And all the stuff comes around. And I just felt like we didn't get enough of him in this movie for him to, I don't know. I didn't really like, I wasn't like, oh, Data's gone. It feels more like there's going to be another movie and you're like, Data will be back, And
we're going to get to that later. He definitely was supposed to be back. I want to talk about this. I know Brittany, you didn't go yet, but I'll give you a chance to kind of respond to this. Do you guys, because Lexi on YouTube says, I like it better now that we have Picard as Data's epilogue. Does that change his sacrifice in this for you guys at all, having seen that series?
I don't know. I'll say that not having seen this movie, but knowing that Data dies in this, like, I knew that it happens in vaguely the plot of this movie. So I was excited to see him again when we did watch Picard, and me watching it with you, that I was like always crying when in scenes when Data and Picard were back together. I was like, I just want them to be together. I think it's good that we have Picard as a way to like continue a little bit of Data, even if like I don't want him to be in the show more than he was in season 1. Like I think that was good how they did it. I think I'm glad we have Picard because him singing Blue Skies at the end also was such a, like, it's a nice moment for Picard because he realizes there is still some of Data in before, but then you have it, actually it's confirmed in Picard that like, yes, this is Data, and like, then obviously Data has his kids. It's a whole thing. But anyway, I'll just say that his death I think could have been better, or the movie could have been put in a way that he was more important or integral to the plot, that it really upped the stakes, and then you felt a lot of loss when he died, because you're just kind of like, oh shit, like really, Data's dead? Why? Yeah. Like, why did he have to die? Like, you get why, but it's just kind of like, eh. But at least knowing that in Picard he continues to exist in some way, I'm fine with it. But I feel like if I would have watched this when I was like younger and actually seen his death, I would have been like, no, because I love robots so much. So
for me, despite everything, all the mishandlings of characters and plot and everything in this movie, and that it was still kind of the truest moment of the characters, and that Data would have done exactly this. He cared more about the Enterprise crew than himself, and that. So like, despite the fake out, like with B4 and that, and getting memory dump and that, as we saw earlier in that, and hinting that that could be like how we bring him back, and that it's still pretty much the purest character moment from the movie for me.
Yeah, I got to agree with you, Hawk, because it over 7 years of television and then First Contact and a little bit Insurrection, Data's whole purpose is to become and strive to be more human. He puts the emotion chip in Generations. This is the culmination of all of that sacrifice. He sacrificed himself for the crew, not because he was an android, not because it was the logical thing to do, because he loves these people. And he says that in Picard, like, yeah, like I loved you, and Picard loved him. Like, you are my family. So I do think it's a great moment. I think it would have been cheap if it was anyone else, and it wouldn't have meant as much. So I'm not happy that it was Data, but it was the right move. And despite the fact that the way like Shinzon died, like it's still a good scene, and I think to me it's still very emotional. Yeah, I thought it was very well done.
Oh, I know, the wordless exchange. It's like he
Picard's
sees him there.
Yeah,
it's just
that was really good. I agree with that part. Like I felt the emotion with them, but his actual death scene, I was like, oh, that was lame. But the crew reaction was, I agree with you on that. That felt meaningful. Like you feel how they feel.
Yeah. I agree that it was very in character what happened, but it is always disappointing like how exactly it happened, because you're like, it shouldn't have had to.
I want to ask you guys this question because Rob brought it up. If we had a chance for him to literally become human in Picard, we did, but it didn't happen. Would you guys have wanted to see Data become human, or are you happy that he had his ending in that series? Because I don't think I would have liked him. I was expecting that to happen. I was expecting Data to come back at the end, but the way they handled it with him dying, being shut off, his consciousness being shut off finally, that worked really well for me. Like, I'm happy Data wasn't back.
Yeah, I think like just feasibly it couldn't have happened, just with like the actors coming back after all these years and everything on top of that. Like it would have been a lot of work. But I didn't mind what they did with Data and Picard in their whole relationship and kind of rounding it out by the end. I don't know if I would have liked it if they would have made him like human.
Yeah.
Not for Picard, if it would have been different, like if this would have happened, 10 or 15 years ago when we didn't really have Trek on film, and it would have, made more sense, then I definitely would have loved, him achieving being human, or, his goal early on. But I don't think Picard's the way I'd want that to happen.
Yeah, I think there's an interesting story there, but I think you said it, Brittany, like I think the time for that story has already passed.
Yeah.
And I despite the fact that I overall did not like Picard, the series, I like the way that part ended. Like that scene was really nice at the end. So
yeah. And Lexi says, I prefer it being his ending as well. It fits with what he tells Lal, the episode where he makes a daughter in TNG. Go ahead. What were you going to say, Hawk?
Say for Data and that, and like the quest to be human and that, it was always a parallel between to the Tin Man and the Wizard of Oz. Like Data didn't realize it in that, but he understood humanity much more than he let on. In his own way and in his own unique way. Actually making him human would have almost defeated the purpose of the character in that. He knew more about humanity than like he even realized.
Yeah.
It's like the metaphor was more important. The metaphor and the journey was more important than it actually physically happening. That would have lessened it for sure, I think.
Like the idea of we should always be trying to make ourselves better and be better and learn. Yeah. And if you quote unquote achieve that, then you actually failed, because you can never achieve that, Yeah.
That's why the French never give you 20 out of 20s on your paper. It's true. The highest I ever got was an 18 or 19 because they don't believe in perfection.
To wrap up Act 3, back in dry dock above Earth, Picard bids farewell to the now Captain Riker, who's leaving to command the USS Titan. Picard meets with B4 and discovers that before he boarded the Scimitar, Data had downloaded the engrams of his neural net into B4. So B4 then starts singing Blue Skies, a song that Data sang at Riker and Troy's wedding, a song that we later see Daj and Soji sing. And then as much as I hate B4, that moment at the end really got me. And that's obviously the song they sang at their wedding. Picard leaves B4's quarters smiling, thinking that maybe Data's there. Maybe he's going to slowly come back. We kind of already talked about that with that maybe going into Picard, so we're not going to talk about that anymore. Let's go right into our deeper dive of this film. We already touched on Picard. Let's talk about Stuart Baird, because he is the reason that this movie gets a lot of shit, and deservedly so. Rob says B4's fate stuffed in a drawer. Correct. Nemesis was directed by this guy who, up until this moment that he directed, I think Hawk, you said one directing credits.
Two. He only had 2 directing credits. One was 1994's Executive Decision starring Kurt Russell, and the other one was
Marshals.
U.S. Marshals with Tommy
Which isn't
Lee
a bad
Jones.
film.
It's a pretty good film.
But other than that, most of his credits had been editing credits and freshman television, like he had done television.
Is like editing, mainly movie production consultant, and in quite a few good movies, like going back years, like The Devils by Ken Russell, and like The Omen.
Most of his
He was
career
like,
was,
I could make a movie.
yeah, most of his career was directing music videos, according to Rob. And this is a fun fact that I did not know. He has not directed since. So
The best.
that's at least something,
Makes a
right?
lot of sense.
He laid it all out, Baird.
So for those that don't know, Stuart Baird had zero, and when we say zero, literally zero knowledge of Trek before taking the directing job. And if reports are true on this, went as far as to say that he hated the franchise. So the story just gets worse and
Where the hell
worse.
did he get this
as to
job?
how he got this
Because
job.
Hollywood,
We were talking about this earlier, in that it almost felt like it was some sort of contractual obligation, and that had to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
Then
During pre-production, he actually refused to watch any of the films and series. I think finally a couple of the production people were like, you need to at least watch the films, and he did that. But there were stories on set, like Geordi kept on getting called the wrong name by him. Baird apparently thought the whole movie that Geordi was an alien. He didn't. Yeah,
He was probably just racist, because that's
maybe,
exactly what.
probably.
No, racist directors do that a lot. They won't even call actors by their actual name correctly.
Yeah.
Oh God, this just gets worse.
It does. Since the film came out, the TNG cast has had very similar feelings that we have talking about Stuart Baird.
That we have.
Yeah. How is this man allowed to direct this film? I know kind of we were talking maybe it was a contractual obligation, but how does this happen when Jonathan Frakes did a very great job, a very, very good job with First Contact, does a decent job with what he was given script-wise with Insurrection? He was the man to direct this movie, and somehow it just didn't happen, especially if you look now at everything Frakes has done with Discovery, all his other directing. He did what's the heist show on TV, Leverage. He directed a lot of Leverage. Dude is a great director, and yet you get this guy, and it's just
Let's get him on the podcast so we can ask him.
that's the point. That's
Who,
Jonathan Frakes, we want to talk to you.
Okay, Frakes I'll take. I'm like, Baird.
No, I'm not talking to that guy.
no.
So
I'd just be like, why the right, buddy?
we have an answer.
Yeah.
And what I was kind of hoping to get at. Rob says this is right from Memory Alpha. Baird later defended himself, saying that he wanted to make a film that stands alone and doesn't rest at all on past history, which if you're doing the last TNG movie, are you fucking serious? Come on, dude.
Does he
That's
realize
why
what generation means?
Oh my God.
That's why this movie was redundant, though. He thought he was doing new things, but everything he did had been done. Like the Troy thing had been done, the clone thing has been done.
The Janeway maneuver
asshole.
been done.
Yeah.
Baird told BBC, I know the fans take it hugely seriously. I took it very seriously to give you 2 hours of entertainment with as much bang for your buck and thrills, spills, emotion, and humor. That was my task, and not to get too precious about it. Fuck you, dude.
He already sounds like a tool.
Shove it up your ass, man.
Go make your own, space movie then, because you suck.
Oh my God, this is.
I love how that was you being mean. It's like, go away, you meanie.
I couldn't. No, that was me holding back.
I know it was you holding back. We don't want to get crazy, but yeah, I do see they should have just had Frakes direct. Just to, especially to cap it out and close them out, because it does feel really weird. As much as I thought some aspects of this were just ridiculous sci-fi antics, and I even said that a few times, it's still not what I would think immediately would be Trek. And then also would be the end to this group.
Right.
You know, like that's a really weird way to close out. Be like, and Data's dead, and yeah, I kind of just did whatever with these characters in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Jonathan
feels
Frakes
like
actually.
Thing.
it feels
Sorry,
like a
John-
plot that could be. No, talk. You go. You go.
No, you sure? Okay. Jonathan Frakes actually said he would have gone more character and less villainy for this film.
Which is what you should do when you're closing out a franchise, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Aaron, what were you gonna say?
Yeah.
I just felt like this plot, you could put it over a generic sci-fi anything, and you could tell the same story. Like there was nothing unique about it. And going off of what you just said, Hawk, like First Contact, it has a very clear story. You know, you watch it once and you know what happened. They go back in time and they're trying to prevent something horrible from happening, and there's a very scary villain, right? And you have these nice character moments that are woven into the story. Like we see Deanna Troi and Riker together on the planet, and they have moments together that feel organic. And then we have Picard, who is dealing with trauma based on what's happening. And in this movie, it's like they're on dune buggies because it's a cool action scene.
Yeah.
Like Riker's fighting some guy in a corridor for like 5 minutes. Because he can. Like
it was 2002. They were trying to be like, "What's the Matrix doing these days?"
Yeah.
Let's copy that.
Yeah.
But this movie's too long because there's so many things that don't serve the story. It's just like, you know what we should do? Dune buggies.
Just real quick, Nemesis actually, and Brittany, I will let you borrow the DVD where I think Hawk, you said you could watch them on YouTube. Had a handful of really, really good deleted scenes that Patrick Stewart said he would have loved to see in an actor's cut of the film. And it made a very specific point not to say a director's cut of the film. Stewart Baird himself said there would be no director's cut of the
He's like,
film.
what you saw is the director's cut because he cut everything he wanted into one film.
Do you think that this film, and this is a big hypothetical because it probably won't happen, but crazier things have happened, like the Snyder Cut. Do you think the film should be left as is, or do you think we should get some form of, maybe in 2022, an anniversary edition recut by Frakes in the cast?
Nah, I don't care.
I don't think they'll do it because they'd rather just make a better film now or a better show now. Like CBS, they got all their new
Picard
shows
season
going.
2 is probably gonna be better than season 1,
and I'm pretty sure they'll fix it in their own ways if they're able to with these new shows. Like, I think it's below them to go back and try and fix it as much as we'd like to have a better film that is more aligned with what they would like and what we would like. But yeah.
I would rather they remaster DS9 and Voyager than try to recut this garbage film into a slightly less garbage film.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Give me my HD DS9, god damn it.
And Voyager,
D stands for definition, not deep.
Go ahead, Hawk.
While I don't think the scenes would have elevated the film in any way, in fact, there was one scene in that with Shinzon and Troy and that, and it did nothing enough to correct it. However, I'm still trying to figure out why they deleted these scenes in that, because they were actually pretty good in that.
Yeah.
I don't know if we kind of. Yeah, exactly. Leslie got a couple of lines, but the one thing I don't know if we talked about Data's, them mourning Data in the movie.
Yeah, the end scene, like flashing back to the talking about like encounter and everything. Yeah, there's a much
better. There's a much better scene in the film when Geordi and Worf have to clear out his room.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Spot jumps into Worf's arms and
so there's a whole lot more about why this movie failed, like it going up against Two Towers. It made like no money. It was one of the worst marketing decisions that they ever made. If you want more details on just went wrong with this film, I really suggest that you go to Den of Geek, which is a great website. There's a great article written by Sven Harvey, which is just simply titled Star Trek Nemesis, What Went Wrong? Again, I like this movie. It's not perfect. It's not great, but there is a good movie in there, which I can't for some reason say about Insurrection.
He's like, I can't find it.
Which is going to get us to our rating out of 10 Romulan senators. Who's going first? And give it to us Twitch and YouTube as well, your ratings.
I'll give it a 7 out of 10 exploded body parts of Romulan senators because I don't think it deserves whole senators per se because there are some issues with this film. It's got some holes in it. But I think I wrote a lot in the chat this today in the watch along tab because I was like, oh, I'm watching it now. And for the most part, I was just like, oh, I didn't know this was going to happen in the movie. That was cool. That was cool. There were some things I didn't like we've already talked about, which I won't repeat again. And yeah, overall, it's disappointing in some ways because you don't want Data to have died, but he did. And I got to deal with it because this was made in 2002, and too bad I'm watching it now. There's nothing I can do. And to complain about it 19 years later is just stupid on my part. But I will agree that it was just kind of it's not the worst Star Trek film I've seen. I don't think it deserves to be the best because it doesn't, it does a lot that we didn't need. So I found myself asking this in the film. I was like, it was enjoyable, but did it need to happen? And that's what it comes down to. And I think I even wrote that in the chat. I was like, why did this movie need to happen? No. Did I have fun watching the ships fight each other? Yes. I like Tom Hardy's acting. But there were some unfortunate things that happened. So 7 out of 10 because it's above average for me, but not perfect by a long shot.
We'll go Aaron and then Hawk.
Okay.
Aaron's like 0!
Listen, I'm shocked you gave it a 7. That seems so high to me.
My first time watching it.
I saw this movie once when it came out, and I haven't seen it since then, and I'd forgotten pretty much everything except I knew that there was Shinzon, and I knew he was a clone, and I knew there were Romulans, but it hit, yeah, obviously I didn't like it, right?
It doesn't age well.
No, I think it's a terrible movie. I would not choose to watch this film again. And Rotten Tomatoes, I looked it up, gave it a 38% rating, so I think that I am not in the minority there. So I'm going to go with Rotten Tomatoes and give it 3.8 Romulan senators. Not quite that 4, it's like everything got destroyed but left one of that guy's boots or something. So 3.8 Romulan senators.
There's an eyebrow here.
Yeah. Little piece.
Hawk.
I'm going to go with a 5 out of 10 disintegrated, ashy Romulan senators, and that for the last movie in a series, especially as an iconic a series as TNG was to so many people in that, it was badly mishandled. The characters always felt a bit off. Data throughout the entire movie, it didn't seem like Data to me. I don't know why. There was something a little forlorn about him.
Something a little before.
Yes. So there were a lot of clunky, unnecessary action sequences, not the actual ship battles, which are actually probably the coolest part of it. And that, since that part probably got handed over to a CGI director, and that I'll give him props for it rather than Stuart Baird.
Yes.
Props to the VFX crew.
Yeah. Yeah. A wildly missed opportunity in that. 5 out of 10.
Fair. Before I go, I will read the Twitch and YouTubes. We have.
I can't wait to hear Rob.
Rob's
Rob's been
6
ranting.
dumpster fires out of 5. Lexi on YouTube, a 3 out of 10 for me. Some really interesting scenes and ideas. Annoyingly, there's potential there, but it just misses the mark so much. Jay says, as much as I thought I loved this movie, after watching it again for the first time in years, I'd rather get another 4 years of Trump than watch it again. Wow.
Damn!
That is way too hot of a take, honestly.
Don't do that to me, Jay.
That's
I don't want another 4
not
years.
a good take.
Even I have to disagree with that, but damn.
No.
I agree with you on the rage, though.
I agree. I mean, you could be rageful all you want, but no one wants 4
It
more.
was funny. It was funny.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So
I'm
I'd rate this
stressed.
movie a 1 out of 10. Fair. All right. NYRL gives it a 6.5 out of 10 dune buggy jumps. And Spotted Giraffe gives 7 out of 10 Romulan senators.
That's because me and Giraffe are the same.
Yep. Engineer 21 gives it 6 out of 10. Not the best, but not the worst. And I believe, oh man, Lexi goes too soon. Agreed. I am going to stick with Brittany and and Spotted Draft, 7 out of 10. I thought about a 6.5, getting rid of that half, and it really should be more for the mind rape bullshit. But there's a lot of this movie that I like. Like I said, I don't love. It's not perfect. Baird was a horrible director, but I had fun, and there are moments, and I think part of that I will also say is because the Romulans are my favorite villain because of the whole espionage thing. So I think I have a little bit of a bias towards that as well. So 7 out of 10.
How do you feel about Eric Bana? He's my favorite.
Eric Bana's fine. He's fine. I thought he was kind of generic, but I love Star Trek 09. Like, I love it, but he's very generic.
At least he was generic and not rapey.
Yeah, there you go. I'm missing. Oh, no, I'm not missing a page. Okay, guys, it is. Oh, go ahead, Hawk.
Before we go, Eric sent
Not
me a
going yet. Yeah, go ahead. Hit it.
Okay. But he gave his review for the film. I'm quoting here. Well, fuck me. I actually enjoyed watching Nemesis this time through.
What the hell is going on?
I enjoyed it. I said that. There were only a few things I didn't like.
Sorry, Hawk, continue.
It's probably been 15 years since the last time I've watched this film. Was it the nostalgia and seeing this cast together for the last time, or seeing that sexy Enterprise E? Maybe. Or maybe I've calmed down as a fan as I've gotten older. All I know is that the goofy parts are still goofy, the main cast is still great together, and the 25-year-old Tom Hardy did a great job as Shinzon. All in all, pretty fun film. If I had to give it a rating out of, I don't know, Blue Skies, I'd probably do 7 out of 10 Blue Skies.
That's pretty good. What's our average? Like a 6? Is our average like a 6 out of 10 then?
If you count the audience, it's probably like a 5.
Okay.
Because there was a lot of 1s and 0s.
True. There's one 1. There was one 1. I think Rob was 0.
Listen, I was generous with my rating. I was going to go a lot lower.
That's fine. But the best thing is they're all valid.
I am not going to lie. I am shocked to hear that from Eric, and I'm happy to hear that from Eric because I know that he has a hard time
and saddened.
I'm very pleased to hear that, and I can't wait to talk to him about it next week.
And is the illness talking?
Maybe those damn Endorian shingles. It is time for the subspace poll and mailbag.
Hailing frequencies are open.
And we asked, of course, people's feelings on Twitter about Nemesis, and 12% of you said it was a great conclusion. 55% said it was flawed but decent. 21% said it failed to go to warp, and 12% said it was a disastrous conclusion. So,
I'm amongst the 55%.
Yes, I am among the 55% as well. We have some mailbag this week, and we're going to start with Reddit. And who's up first?
Me. Mailbag. Okay, so we got Cube NX01 who wrote, "One thing I find interesting is the deleted scenes. There's some good content in there, and I would love an extended version with the deleted scenes added, minus the second mind rape scene. Some of the alleged deleted scenes would also help the film a bit, I think. There's a cut plot about Dr. Crusher considering a position at Starfleet Medical, for example. To save time, they could have cut a lot out of the Argo section, and if they want to be extra special, using the extended edition and finishing with a new shot of the Titan and the Enterprise parting ways." Yeah, that probably would have made the movie better. I still have to watch the deleted scenes, or else I'd agree with you. And now I know to avoid one of the deleted scenes.
I don't know who this is from.
I think there was a little bit more at the end there. Oh, the as it stands. Yeah. No, that was still, sorry. I put that as 2. That was still the same comment. I'm sorry. I messed that up in the outline.
Do you want me to go?
Okay.
Yes, please.
As it stands, I think the action in the film is great, minus the Argo. The rest is mostly decent.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Hawk, since I think I had you for the next one, even though that was the second, why don't you take the one that I was going to do from BJ?
All right. BJ Bay wrote, "Loved it the first time when I hadn't seen any Star Trek in a while. After a movie and TV marathon and I could compare it, I only barely made it through the movie without quitting."
I feel like that will be me next time I watch this.
Probably.
First time I was just like, this is really wild. I didn't know whatever. And then next time, if I do like a TNG marathon and I watch it, I'll probably be like, what the fuck?
Ambassador wrote, "I just finished rewatching it an hour ago. My opinion of it has been raised dramatically, especially after watching and rewatching Star Trek Picard."
Yeah, I think that's the reason some people are going back and looking at the movie and maybe looking at it with a more, open mind because of Picard. Because listen, I think I think
It's
some
the
of us
Romulan stuff.
are the yeah, it is, and I think some of us are in the I think most of us are in the minority of not liking Picard. I didn't like Picard very much. Aaron did.
Yeah.
I
I only liked the first and last episodes.
Yeah.
It was very in between. Well, the Riker
the
episode.
Pente episode is beautiful.
Yeah, I was about to say there's like certain ones, but like I remember we even reviewed them episode by episode on our other show.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I'm telling you guys, bad stuff is always too long.
Yep. Who's got the next one from Ambassador?
me. No, not me.
Aaron.
What? Oh, what?
Ambassador.
I just did that one.
Yeah, she just wrote.
Oh yeah, you just.
I'm sorry, you did. I'm so sorry.
So I am right. Okay, because that's why I said me at first. Okay.
All by him.
Oh God. Patron collective member Rob, who you can see in the chat, is definitely going off. Also wrote, I would rather watch The Final Frontier on repeat.
Okay.
Rob and I are gonna have some sort of like PTSD from watching this movie. We're gonna have a little club.
Yep. Real quick before we go over to Discord, Rob has a really fun fact that I have to read. Nemesis premiered the same weekend as the totally forgotten J-Lo movie Made in Manhattan. It made less money than Made of Manhattan.
How dare you claim that it's a forgotten film? Everybody has seen Made in Manhattan on like TNT on a weekday at noon.
I've seen Made in Manhattan. It's not bad.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I understand why it made more money.
And Lexi also wrote, one good thing I'll say, it's at least better than The Rise of Skywalker. Fucking tenfold. Anything is better than Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, and to be
I
fair,
didn't hate it.
Kylo Ren did some, mind rapey things in the first movie. So,
yep.
Have we really learned? Have we really advanced as a human race in Hollywood? No.
Who's got Lexi's Discord comment?
I think this is Hawk.
So, Lexi Denton from our Discord collective wrote, personally, I think a cool direction Nemesis could have taken would have been to emphasize a relationship between Jean-Luc and Shinzon and a genuine redemption story. A major point in Generations is his grief at the loss of his brother and nephew and grappling with the fact that there will be no more Picards. So this could have been thematically interesting to tie it back in, with Picard now finding himself with essentially a new family member. New hope for the family, and have it be paralleled with Data and B4 and even the Federation and Romulus. That's actually
I feel like they
pretty good.
sprinkled some of that into Picard.
They did, for sure.
To be fair, this would have been pretty lit because they died in a fire.
That went full circle to a previous episode, man.
It did. I referenced a previous episode.
You did. We're at that point in the podcast where we're referencing previous episodes.
Chateau, my gosh, I went there.
Oh, guys, unless anybody has anything else, that is a wrap on the Strange New Pod Star Trek Next Generation film deep dive. It has been a wild ride. A wild ride.
It's been a long road.
Getting from there to here.
I had to do it for Eric. I had to do it. I hate.
By the way, if people don't know yet, if we reach 25 patrons by the end of March, we are all going to sing Faith of the Heart on this podcast live. So
I don't even know.
just some incentive if you haven't joined our Patreon yet. That is going to happen. And it is going to be a rousing rendition. It's going to be amazing.
I'm gonna find something to auto-tune.
Yeah.
I will learn the guitar parts for it if I have to.
Do it.
Oh, I'll sing the guitar parts. I don't even know the song.
That's just a preview of what you're gonna get.
I'm gonna be mouthing it, and there'll be a little speaker where sound's actually coming out. So
that is going to do it for episode 18 of the show. Please join us next week for our awesome crossover with Marcy and the Discotheque podcast. We are going to review all of Disco season 3. It's going to be so much fun. So then I will say, for Eric, who did not join us tonight, but we wish him well, for Brittany, for Hawk and Aaron, we're going to hand it over to the Delta Shift over on Discord and say good night and Maj Ram.
Thanks for beaming into our podcast today. If you want to keep the hailing frequencies open, you can subscribe on Apple and Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. Like what you hear? Put in a good word with Starfleet and leave us a 5-star review. This is my Geordie LaForge.
How does he see doing this? It doesn't work.
Well, he has a see-through visor, ma'am.
I think we're still live.
What, the actor?
This is like
we
the
are
after
still live.
pod.